This is Pat Salber with Health Innovation Media at CES 2014 in Las Vegas. And it's my pleasure to have with me this afternoon Rob Nail, who is the CEO of Singularity University. And Rob, I thought we'd start out, well, first of all, I love your button. I love the logo for Singularity.
Yeah,
and I thought maybe we'd start out for our viewers who aren't familiar with Singularity,
Yeah.
if you could tell us a little bit about the university itself, its genesis, and
Sure.
then we'll get into some of the plans that you have.
Great. So Singularity University is a non-traditional university. We are really focused on the future of technology and creating a big impact in the world. The genesis of the university came from a book written by Ray Kurzweil called The Singularity is Near. And in this book, Ray did a lot of research on Moore's Law specifically, and actually showed it going back more than 100 years to 1900s. And he actually plotted all of the technologies as kind of built upon themselves on a beautiful exponential curve, which is now kind of known as Moore's Law. But the fact that it goes back 100 years is really notable for a couple of reasons.
It means it's anteceded Moore.
Yeah,
maybe could have had a different
before
name.
Moore, right? And it means there's something beyond just this concept of computers and technological progress. And so the key was, over the last 100 plus years, a lot of other things have happened. Great wars, depressions, we've had huge technological boom cycles and down cycles, and yet technological progress has been incredibly smooth on this exponential curve of Moore's Law.
And so is the university a way of helping to prepare those of us who grew up living in a linear world to be able to survive and thrive in an exponential world?
So precisely. So back to the genesis of the university, Peter Diamandis, who's the other co-founder of the university, read Ray's book, and he was very inspired. And he said, how do I forecast where this exponential curve is going? Is there anywhere in the world that we can do that? And they realized, no, there's nobody discussing it, thinking about technology in that way. So they said, hey, let's create a forum where we can explore and educate people about the advancing, accelerating rate of technology, but then also overlaying that with what are the implications on the world and society. And so the mission of the university is to educate, inspire, and empower leaders of the world to understand the accelerating pace of technology and to use that to solve humanity's grand challenges.
I know that there is an application process,
Yep.
But you don't limit who gets in just to leaders of the world, right? I mean, I got to attend Future Med, right? So relatively ordinary folks can attend. Can you tell us a little bit about, first of all, are you functioning like a regular university where I can graduate and get a degree? How do you get people to, how do you encourage people to attend?
Right.
And a little bit about how you actually make the decision, because I think there was a decision-making process in Future Med, and that you actually tried to be sure that the group had an interesting mix, so we weren't learning not only from the phenomenal faculty, and the faculty was phenomenal, but that we're also learning from each other. Right. So if you could explain that, it would be great.
Wow, you hit on a lot of really big insights there that are at the heart of what we're trying to do at SU. So a couple things. We run a few different types of programs. So we run a 10-week graduate studies program where we take thousands of applications from around the world, and we have 80 students who come in for 10 weeks to learn about the fastest moving technologies. We have 150.
These all young folks, or any age?
Any age.
Any age, that's good.
We call it a graduate studies program, but at the end they get a certificate. All of our programs are certificate programs. There's no accreditation. We think accreditation is a little bit passé and is not quite what we're trying to do, because there are other signs of credibility from new different types of communities, and SU I think is one of them. And so we're not trying to be a traditional university from that standpoint.
Okay.
Which is where university.
But I can still put it on my CV.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it'll mean a lot. In fact, when you tell people you went to Singularity University, if they went, that'll be very meaningful to them because they understand it.
Yeah, good, great.
Yeah, no, it's anywhere in the world too, which is a really interesting thing. So we run this 10-week graduate studies program, 80 students from around the world. We look for three things for this program. We look for people who are at an intellectual capacity that they can keep up. So either through grades or through activities and writing and things. We just have to test that because we don't want somebody who can't work in the group. So, and there's a big range there. So a lot of people can be there. Second is they need to be proven entrepreneurs. we have a pretty wide range of entrepreneurship, and it's one who is somebody that wants to actually do something. Right?
Wants to do something, wants to create something.
Wants to create something. They're not going to be just like learn all this stuff and they're like, oh, that's really cool, and just tell people about it. Sometimes we like that. Social leaders are good entrepreneurs in some rights. Bloggers actually are very powerful in the world. But we want people who are, they get inspired, they want to work with other people, and then they want to make something happen out of it. And third, we look for people who have a real passion for the grand challenges. We don't want students who want to make $1 million. We want people who light up when they are faced with trying to come up with a solution for solving world hunger, or new ways to bring education to the world, or to solve poverty or water problems. And then we have a premise that with technological solutions, you can make a ton of money and solve big problems and make a big impact on the world. But you have to lead with, first you want to solve big problems and make an impact in the world.
And then the money will follow.
And the money will follow, right? If you make a big impact in the world, you will do just fine, guaranteed, right? So we have this 10-week graduate studies program. The rest of the year we run executive programs and custom programs, and then we have some other fun stuff. We have conferences, so we have short conferences. We have week-long executive programs, and then we have custom things. In the executive programs, we have a different application process.
Oh no, don't tell me it's not smart. We're not smart, unpassionate, non-doers.
No, it's definitely
okay.
It's a similar filter. It's not quite as rigorous because we actually look at sort of what you've done. The graduate studies program is we're looking for upcoming leaders, and so it's not so much
what
about
you're going to do.
It's about what you're going to do. And just to back up a little bit, that 10-week program, the age range has been 18 to 58, and students from 85 countries.
Oh, incredible.
And it is the most diverse group of people I've ever interacted with, and everyone is amazing. So that's fun. Our executive programs and the conferences are similarly very internationally based. Lots of amazing people. And what we typically look for, what we're trying to tailor to, is what I think is a very unique, diverse group of people that I think are required to solve any major program in the world. And I think what you need, which is different than what we see in politics and startups and others, first you need thought leaders, which we have our faculty and others.
Right.
And a lot of times in the audience and our participants, they're thought leaders in their own right, for sure, and they can teach classes.
Right. The audience was the students or whatever we were actually, I learned a lot from them.
From them, right.
Yeah.
And we actually try to create unconferences and other forums where we learn from the participants too, because they have as much to teach as we do. So that's exciting. So thought leaders are important. Second, we want to have entrepreneurs in the room. We want to have investors in the room, because with those you can do stuff.
Right.
Third, we absolutely have to have corporate executives, so people at large-scale corporations who are part of the power structure in the world, who are responsible for supply chains and a lot of the resources that need to be deployed if you have a good idea.
Who, by the way, not only can bring stuff to the people in the room, but also it's very important that they hear this stuff and they take it back to their organizations.
Right. Next are the government leaders and policymakers of the world, who mostly have no idea what the hell's going on in the world with regard to technology. It's good to see a few of them here at CES, but this gives you a really weird perspective on what technology is and what innovation is in the world. And then last are social leaders. So these are people who are doing out to champion a cause, to really rally voices, help build NGOs and do other things as well. With a group of that demographic of 6 disparate types of people, I think you can solve any problem. And it can't be just from the U.S. either. You got to have mindsets, and it can't be just rich people.
And you need to have people from the developing world, because they're solving problems with a different set of resources and doing amazing things that may not be as technologically sophisticated, but are meeting the needs of their population.
Yep. And so that's our ideal working group. So when we run programs, we try to get a good mix of all of those. We could do a much better job of it, but it's a fun experiment to run to see when you have more entrepreneurs, or if you have more bloggers and writers and social leaders versus others. It's kind of fun to see how that experiment plays out. What comes out of it, because a lot of cool ideas, startups, policy changes actually end up coming out of the conversations that happen at all of these programs.
Well, I'd love to talk more, but we're really running
problem.
out of time. But if it's okay with you, Rob, we'd like to have you come back and we
I'd
can
love to.
continue the conversation, because you've raised a lot of really interesting issues that I think would be worthy of exploration. And I want to congratulate you on what you've done with Singularity University, you and the founders and all the faculty and people like Daniel Kraft, who does such a fantastic job with the new name, Exponential Medicine. So thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.